Taylor is, in my opinion, getting a bad edit for someone that's Miss CBS these days. I don't know why she's getting the bad edit that Joseph deserves, honestly. Good morning, everybody. Another episode of The Amazing Race, Season 38 to cover. And it was both a good episode, but also an irritating episode, if I do say so myself. Now, usually I start from the top to bottom, but I got to start with the bottom team this week. The team that ended up going home in a big choke job. It was a choke job by Tucker last night. And Tucker and Eric had been one of the best teams in this competition the entire season so far. But last night did them in. And they were still killing it last night at first, even though everyone basically got a reset because they were all flying on the same plane to Athens, Greece. And Tucker and Eric were the first ones to get to their... Well, I guess we got to talk about the vote first. That was definitely the messy part of the episode. And it was a messy vote. They had to do a live public vote for two teams to be U-turned and have to do both U-turns during this leg of the race. And so a lot of people were, of course, targeting Tucker and Eric. I also want to point out that Joseph and Adam were at the bottom of the last episode, and so they got a punishment, allegedly. And their punishment was that they start with one vote during this. I thought that was not really a punishment at all. It was very stupid. If that was the punishment for being saved, why even have a punishment? Because who's going to vote for the team that was just at the bottom to get U-turned? Doesn't make a lick of sense. So they basically got a free pass with their save last week. So I questioned the save again, much like I questioned it last week, because if their punishment was just one vote against them in this little public vote, nobody was going to vote against them. That's not a punishment. Anyway, Tucker and Eric and Jag and Jess were, of course, targeted, but so was Kyland and Taylor. I did find people targeting them odd, because it's hard to say they are the third best team, even though I also, I guess, believe they are the third best team out of the teams that were left. But it's not like their track record has been tracking for that. So at one point, Taylor got emotional when she saw that Jag voted against her and that they blamed the fact that they overheard Taylor talking about a guys alliance or something. And I've been saying the last couple of weeks that Taylor is, in my opinion, getting a bad edit for someone that's Miss CBS these days. I don't know why she's getting the bad edit that Joseph deserves, honestly. But she is, apparently. Because she was then hypocritical, crying about the fact that it's hard for the women in this game to play when the two guy teams, the all-guy teams, are still in the game. Even Joseph and Adam are still in the game because they got a free pass last week, and they're doing all really well in this competition. Most of the all-women teams have gone home. But then after that, Taylor and Kyland used their burn vote on Izzy and Paige, so Izzy and Paige rightfully called them hypocrites in their confessionals because Taylor was complaining that it's hard for the girls out here this season. But then she burns a vote on Izzy and Paige. I am, however, going to clock in and defend Taylor this week. I haven't defended her a lot this season, but I don't like her edit. I feel as though the burn vote wasn't a big deal. Nobody was going to vote for Izzy and Paige. And I do feel like Taylor and Kyland were trying to do this strategically. They have this alliance with Joseph from the Taylor and Joseph connection. They have the alliance with Jag from the beginning. They gave Jag and Jess the pass, which I've called stupid the entire time. And this round it did come back to bite them in the ass because Jag threw them under the bus with this vote. They did have the option of voting for Jack and Chelsie But I just feel like Taylor has the least relationship with Izzy. And so that was an easy burn vote for her. It did make her crying about the all guy teams turning on her look a little hypocritical, because she was talking about how she doesn't want to throw the women under the bus like the guys are doing, but then she votes for Izzy and Paige. However, I feel like the emotions were more so her alliance members are now throwing her under the bus, and she felt stupid for her vote this round. And it was the wake-up call that I hope Taylor and Kylan needed in this season, that it's not best friends race. You're racing to win the game, which is also my gripe with Joseph and Adam. Joseph didn't want any part of this voting, didn't want any part of the game. Why are you on reality television? Why were they saved last week? They're playing to lose the game. And I can't stand players like that in any game. Joseph should never be on reality television again after this season. He was the same on Big Brother. He's a great guy. Great person in real life, I would believe. He comes across that way. He's not meant for competition games because he plays to lose. So why even play in the first place? Them not wanting to throw Jag and Jess under the bus here when Jag and Jess trump them and everything, it's getting annoying. You're not going to beat them in the end. Anyway, back to Tucker and Eric. They, at first, when they had to do both U-turns, they were doing fine. They were the first to get to the instruments that they had to carry on their back, and they stayed right behind Jag and Jess. But it was the Greek alphabet that did Tucker in. He just could not get that memory comp down. He's never been a memory competition guy. He's been good at all the physical comps on Big Brother. But memory comps are not his thing, and that is what did him in. It came down to him versus Taylor in the end. And yeah, Taylor only took 4 tries, I believe, and Tucker took 10 tries. And it seemed like he finished soon after Taylor finished, so they weren't far behind staying in the game. But yeah, Tucker choked. Not surprising. It's kind of what Tucker does in games as well. Now, in first place was, no surprisingly, Jag and Jess. And why I call this episode good but irritating is that this was a good episode. We had the messy public vote, love stuff like that. But what I don't like about this is, yeah, we get the shock elimination. Tucker and Eric, one of the few front runners to win this season, get eliminated. Feels like going forward, though, there's no way Jag and Jess lose this season. There's no way. Who's going to beat them? They, apparently, I don't watch Amazing Race much, but apparently they're the first team in Amazing Race history, 38 seasons, to finish first after being U-turned. That's an insane stat, and they killed it. Now, some of it was luck, though, I will say. They got really lucky with the olives. Apparently, they were just guessing on the olives, and they got it in their first try. But it's stuff like that, when they're dominating competitions that they're not even thinking they're good at, it doesn't bode well for the rest of the teams. I really do feel like Tucker and Eric were the only team that could beat Jag and Jess. And so now, to watch these last 3 episodes, we're going to have to suffer through another Jag win. Hard to do. Hard for me to want to do. But I've already given up on Survivor. So I'm going to truck through this season, I guess, just to probably watch Jag win again. These CBS reality shows, they're really limping at their old age. Jag and Jess are killing it. I mean, at least this will be a win that Jag deserves, unlike the first time. But it's impossible for me to want to see him to win again. Because what gets lost, what gets lost in the scheme of things is not only was Jag a shit winner, but he was kind of a piece of shit at the end of the season too. Him, Matt, Bowie, Jane were awful to the older women in the house at the end of that season on live feeds. So Jag's not even rootable. And so I just wish he wasn't cast on this season, but here we are, and he's probably going to win again. Because just looking at these other teams, who's going to beat them? In second place this round was shockingly Chelsie and Jack. Now, Chelsie is another winner of Big Brother, and she showed why in this episode. The problem with Chelsie and Jack is every single episode now, they get so lost getting to places. Every episode. Again, this week, they were the team that was lost getting to their first U-turn, and they only had one U-turn. By the time they got to their U-turn, the Olives, Jag and Jess had already finished 2 U-turns just because Chelsie and Jack got turned around and lost again. And so this being a race where you got to have good directions and you got to be good at finding where you're going, I just can't see Chelsie and Jack winning on that alone. They've gotten lost pretty much every episode. It's not going to change going forward. What Chelsie was great at, though, was the alphabet. She got close on her very first try on what I think, unless you know the Greek alphabet already, going into that competition, learning the Greek alphabet, having to point out the symbols, very hard. She almost got it on her very first try, was just off by 1, got it on her second try. So that was impressive. And I like that for Chelsie. I just can't see them doing good enough to win. In third place was Joseph and Adam. As I already said, they pissed me off in this episode. Like, in the end with the vote, it worked out for them because they got to do a 3-way tie. So Taylor and Kylan, Jag and Jess, Tucker and Eric all had to do the double U-turns, which I think is a stupid rule, honestly. If you can't break a tie, I think the people that can't break the tie should be the ones, Survivor style, that get punished. But instead, it's like, well, we get to punish an extra team. So that worked out for them in the end. But at first, with Joseph not wanting to vote at all to try and keep his hands clean, it's weak. It's not meant for reality television. So yeah, I would never like to see Joseph again. And I think he deserves the edit that Taylor's getting. Taylor's getting a bad edit. Yes, Taylor she only made one really stupid move this season, and that was giving the pass to Jag and Jess, which in the end didn't even mean that much because coming into this round, they all basically started over at the beginning on the same flight. So it wasn't even a big... I gave her a lot of shit at the beginning, but it wasn't a very big deal by now that she gave that pass to Jag and Jess. It is a big deal that Jag has now turned on them, but to me, Joseph and Adam, every step of this competition have needed help. And I guess you can say them being in an alliance has gotten them kind of further, but it hasn't, because had they not done the fake out last week where they got saved, then they wouldn't still be here. Had last week not been a safe week for no reason whatsoever because they didn't even get a good punishment, then they would be eliminated. So I don't believe that the alliance thing is helping them out. They've needed too much help, and the fact that they continue to work with who is now the front runners to win the game with Tucker and Eric out doesn't bode well for them winning the game. And they're not very good in competitions either. I feel like they should be better than they're doing in competitions, but they struggled. Joseph struggled in the alphabet memory comp. And he thought Jag was going to work with him there, and that didn't happen because Jag finished, and he just memorized the second row thinking Jag was going to help him with another row. Welp. Nope, because it's a race. People racing to win. What also made me laugh at Joseph and Adam was at one point they're ahead of Jag and Jess, but by the time Jag and Jess catch up to them, Jag and Jess then pass them in a foot race. They haven't been able to beat Jag and Jess in a foot race the entire time, but let's keep being aligned with them. Stupidity. Izzy and Paige finished 4th place. Y'all know by now if you've watched any of my videos this season, I love Izzy. I liked her calling out Taylor in the confessional. Kind of wish she would have called her out in person. I would have liked it even more. But yeah, Izzy and Paige, they have great communication with each other, and that's why they are still in this race. And I think that they're the huge underdog to win, but I think they're too big of an underdog to beat Jag and Jess, sadly. Jag and Jess are just killing so many legs of this race. And that leaves us in 5th place, Kylan and Taylor. I mean, I already talked about it. Taylor was upset that Jag U-turned them. She then burned her vote on Izzy. She's doing things that are making the fan base dislike her, but like, what else is new? People hate on Taylor. They always have. I think Taylor is made for TV mostly because she looks good. I enjoy watching Taylor, okay? But is she meant for reality television going forward? Probably not. I just don't think she is strategic enough to be good at these games. I mean, she did win Big Brother, but it was thanks to a social game, never the strategy. And I don't love Big Brother Unlocked. She needs to get in the acting. I could see her on Beyond the Gates. She would be great on Beyond the Gates if she would get into acting. But yeah, she's had some struggles this season. Despite that, I think her and Kyland are a good team. They struggled with the olives. If I would feel like Kyland too, who wants to eat all these olives. Disgusting. But after that, I feel like they got it together. They certainly got it together in the alphabet. Taylor got her alphabet, the Greek alphabet, right in 4 tries. Tucker took 10, so that helped Taylor and Kylan. But like, they're kind of the only team left that I think has a small chance. But they're starting in last place this next round. Jag and Jess are in first place. So unless there's another round where they all kind of start over on the same flight, I just can't see any of these teams beating Jag and Jess. And that is the state of the rest of the season. So, good episode, but a bad implication for the rest of the season.